Love is a practice. Love is a practice. Loving and holding people accountable at the same time is a practice. And I want to practice as much as I can, maintaining my ability to love and my ability to be a warrior for justice. They are not separate. I am a warrior for justice out of deep love. And my question to all of us is, how do we cultivate that love? Everybody knows what a system is, right? The system's job is to churn out inequity. That's what it does. And it does it because it has all of these components, some of them internal, some of them external, and they are embedded in history and culture and identity. And if we don't understand the components of the system, we can't change it. We can't analyze it. We can't talk about it. Because we are acculturated, many people, I'm not talking about anybody in this room, but most people are acculturated to think about race and gender and class and other forms of oppression as a personal thing. They're either personally offended or they're denying what they're not, and all of us have bias. All of us have prejudice. That's just the way it is. And we could have a whole conversation about this. We could talk about internalized bias and how it's a function of the brain and what that means. But one of the ways to interrupt internalized racism is through story. That's why films work so well, because they're a collection of stories that invite people in and to have a conversation about something that needs to be talked about with language that actually makes sense. Do y'all remember a time when the choice was, do you do the internal work, the personal work, or do you do the external work, or the structural work? That's a pretty dumb question, isn't it? And yet, we were all swept up in that. The structural work is what matters. But the internal work also matters. And that's what I want to talk to you about. I want to talk to you about movement building along 3 axes. We do movement building work when we're looking at what it means to check out the political landscape. We do movement building work when we gather our forces and we look at economics. But we're also doing movement building work, or what I would call the ontological work, of coming to know who we are, of our sense, developing our capacity to develop our sense of a deep connection to life. Now, astrophysicists speak of the universe as a sphere with nothing outside of itself. But when you think about how we function, we have what's called the circle of human concern. Who's in it and who's not in it? Now, I want you to be completely honest right now. And with all that love that you had just a few minutes ago, turn to a person and tell them one example of what's inside your circle of human concern and what's outside your circle of human concern. Now, some of you look puzzled because we're not used to thinking this way. We could spend a lot of time really identifying what is actually, specifically, inside your circle of human concern. If you're not asking yourself this question, as just an example of the kind of reflections that we can have, then you're missing something. Tell me some things that are outside your circle of human concern, and let me help you out. What makes you afraid? What makes you turn away? What do you ignore? What do you pretend that you don't see? Give me some examples. Homeless people. Male rapists. This is a very deep question. What is outside your circle and our collective circle of human concern? Because those people are what? They're other. And when we can other people for whatever reason it may be, now I'm not saying I'm inviting Donald Trump over for dinner. That's not what I'm saying. But I am saying that there is something that connects us that must be explored. And at the same time that we're doing social justice work, we have to be exploring who we are. There are 4 ways that we are disconnected from one another. Denying who we are to the greater whole. We're disconnected from nature. We're disconnected from each other. And we're disconnected from ourselves. That is work that must be done in tandem with social justice work. If it's not done in tandem with social justice work, what happens? The work is bankrupt. What else? It's not sustainable. We what? We leave out people. Yes, absolutely. We repeat patterns. And those patterns, some of them generationally deep, will insert themselves when we're not paying attention.